Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling maybe one of the most paradoxical spiritual ideas out there.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The idea that willingly choosing difficulty, embracing suffering for Christ, is somehow a source of incredible strength, like a superpower.
Right. Not just enduring it because you have to, but choosing it.
Exactly. We're framing suffering not as, defeat, but as a powerful spiritual weapon. Remember, 2 Corinthians says our weapons are spiritual, not carnal, for pulling down strongholds.
Mighty through God.
So our mission today is to figure out why. Why does voluntary endurance unlock so much spiritual authority? And it seems like it starts with just looking at our daily hassles differently.
It really does. That initial reframing is key. Because honestly, a lot of our modern complaints, they kind of mask huge blessings.
How so?
Well, think about complaining about, say, expensive house repairs. It's easy to get annoyed, right?
It is.
But that annoyance overlooks the fact that you have a house, a blessing of shelter, or stressing over car maintenance.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's what you might call the privilege of stewardship. It comes with the gift of having a car in the first place. These aren't just burdens, they're almost like badges of abundance.
Badges of abundance, I like that. But okay, it sounds good, but when the bill actually arrives, it's tough to feel abundant. How do we bridge that gap, make it more than just positive thinking?
That's where the spiritual mechanics come in. Romans 5 lays it out pretty clearly. It's like a chain reaction.
Okay.
It says, tribulation or suffering produces endurance. And endurance isn't just gritting your teeth, it's that active choice to stay faithful under pressure.
Right, the conscious choice.
And that repeated choice, it builds character, like proven integrity. You see your faith actually holding up.
Okay, makes sense. Endurance builds character.
And that character, knowing God's faithfulness because you've experienced it, produces hope. Real solid hope. It's a process that makes you spiritually resilient.
That explains the inner change. But what does that look like on the outside? How does this power show up in a way that, defies normal human reactions?
Think about the second mile. Jesus talks about it in Matthew. If a soldier forces you to carry his gear for 1 mile.
Yeah, that was Roman law, right? Compulsory service.
Exactly. That first mile is pure obligation. You're kind of the victim there.
Okay.
But choosing to go the second mile, voluntarily, that flips the script entirely.
Ah, so you go from victim to
someone choosing, someone taking agency. That specific choice, moving from compulsion to voluntary endurance, that's where you grab hold of spiritual authority. You're activating that character and hope.
That's a powerful shift. So these small daily endurances build the muscle for that bigger choice. Where did this whole concept even come from, this link between voluntary suffering and power?
Well, ultimately, it comes from Christ himself. And we often jump straight to the cross, but we miss 2 foundational acts of voluntary suffering. He undertook way before that.
Okay, like what?
First, the kenosis.
Yeah.
That's a Greek word, means emptying. Philippians chapter 2 talks about how Christ emptied himself.
Emptied himself of what?
Of his divine privileges. He willingly stripped away. His glory took the form of a servant, became human. Imagine the eternal creator subjecting himself to time and biology. The suffering started right there.
Wow. Choosing limitation when he had infinite power. That's profound.
It really is. And the second key moment, Gethsemane, the garden.
Right before the crucifixion.
Yeah. Luke describes his anguish. He was dreading the cup, the burden of sin so intensely. His sweat was like drops of blood. The human cost was immense.
Oh, can't even imagine.
But the absolute peak of his spiritual power in that moment wasn't a miracle. It was his submission. Matthew records him saying, "Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." That choice to see the agonizing plan through.
Choosing the Father's will over his own human desire to avoid the pain.
Precisely. That was the ultimate act of voluntary endurance.
So what drove him? What could possibly motivate someone to make that choice?
Hebrews tells us directly. Chapter 12 says, he endured the cross, despising the shame. Why? For the joy that was set before him.
Joy? What joy?
The joy of redeeming us. The joy of bringing humanity back to God. The resulting eternal glory. He saw the long-term gain was infinitely greater than the short-term horrific pain. And that right there is a core takeaway for you listening. Enduring suffering, especially with that forward-looking joy, becomes this ultimate act of trust in God's bigger plan, even when, maybe especially when, you can't change your immediate circumstances.
It reframes everything.
It turns loss into a kind of eternal investment. Paul calls our present suffering light momentary affliction that's actually producing an eternal weight of glory. The perspective shift is huge. The pain is temporary, the reward is forever.
So a final thought to leave you with. If suffering willingly embraced really is the source of spiritual leverage, how could reframing those small daily inconveniences, the unexpected repair, the delay, the difficult conversation, as chances for gratitude, for choosing that second mile, how could that start preparing you right now for deeper spiritual strength? You might find you're turning what feels like loss today into a powerful investment for eternity.